I don't usually scare easily, but something about that night stuck with me. I was doing late night food deliveries, not because I enjoyed it, just because that's when the orders paid better. It was around 1:40 a.m. when I got the request. Pretty normal. Pick up from a 24-hour place, no weird instructions, no strange name, just another order. I grabbed the food, hit start delivery, and followed the GPS. At first, everything felt normal. Streetlights, empty roads, the occasional car passing by. But after about 10 minutes, things started to change. The houses slowly disappeared. The streetlights got farther apart. Then eventually, there were none. The GPS kept guiding me forward, down a road I'd never taken before. I figured it was just a shortcut. Apps do that sometimes. But then the road got narrower and darker. Soon I was driving between trees on what barely felt like a proper road anymore. No houses, no lights, no signs of life. I actually slowed down and checked the map. The destination pin was still ahead. All right, one more minute, I told myself. So I kept going. Then suddenly, "You have arrived." I stopped the car, looked up. There was nothing there. Just an empty dirt road, trees on both sides, and complete silence. I checked the address again. Same one. No house, no driveway, no mailbox, nothing. At first, I wasn't scared, just annoyed. I figured the customer pinned the wrong location. I grabbed my phone to call them. Before I could press the button, I got a message. "Did you get here?" I froze. I didn't reply. A few seconds later, another message came in. "I can see you." I immediately looked up, scanned everything around me. Nothing. I turned the car slightly and switched on the high beams. Just trees. But then, something felt off. To the right of the road, there was a narrow gap between the trees, like a hidden path. I was almost sure it wasn't there before. The phone buzzed again. "Why aren't you getting out?" That's when the feeling hit. Not panic, not even fear at first, just this heavy sense that something was very wrong. I typed back quickly. "I think the location is incorrect." No response. About 10 seconds passed. Then, "No, you're exactly where you need to be." I slowly looked back toward that narrow path, and for a second, I had this feeling that someone was standing there. I couldn't see anyone, but I knew I wasn't alone. That was enough. I put the phone down, closed the app, and hit the gas. I didn't look back, didn't stop driving until I reached the main road again. A few minutes later, I got a notification. Order canceled. No call, no explanation, nothing. The next day, I tried looking up the address again. It didn't exist. The place I went to wasn't on the map. And ever since that night, if a delivery ever takes me too far off the grid, I cancel it. Because the worst part about that night wasn't that someone was out there. It's that whoever it was knew exactly when I arrived. My name's Daniel. I'm 26, and for about a year, I worked the closing shift at a small coffee shop just outside town. It wasn't a busy place at night. After 9 p.m., it was usually dead. Most nights, it was just me and one other coworker closing up, cleaning machines, counting the register, locking everything down. It was routine. Until I started noticing him. The first time, I didn't think much of it. I was taking out the trash around 10:30 p.m. The employee parking lot sits behind the building, partially lit. One flickering light, the rest mostly dark. That's when I saw him, standing near my car. Not touching it, just standing there, facing it. He had a short, uneven beard, messy, like he hadn't really taken care of himself in a while. I remember thinking maybe he was just lost or waiting for someone. When he noticed me, he didn't act surprised. He just looked at me for a second, then slowly walked away. Didn't say anything, didn't look back. It felt weird, sure, but not enough to report it or anything. At least, not yet. The next night, he was there again. Same spot, near my car. Same posture. Just standing. This time, I didn't approach him. I stayed by the back door and watched. After maybe 20 seconds, he turned and walked off again. Calm, not rushed, like he knew I was watching. That's when I started feeling it. That low, quiet kind of unease that doesn't really make sense yet. I told my coworker about it. She laughed it off, said it was probably nothing. I wanted to believe that. But on the third night, things changed. We were about 10 minutes from closing. The shop was empty, lights dimmed, machines already cleaned. Then the front door opened. I looked up, and it was him. Same guy, same beard, same blank expression. He walked in slowly, like he'd been there before. Didn't look around, didn't hesitate, just walked straight to the counter. For a second, I couldn't even speak. Then I said, "Hey, sorry, we're about to close." He didn't respond, just stood there, looking at me. Not angry, not confused, just staring. I tried again. "We're closing in a few minutes. I can't take new orders right now." A pause. Then he said quietly, "Coffee." That's it. Just one word. I shook my head. "Sorry, man, we're closed." Another pause. Longer this time. Then he leaned slightly forward. Not aggressive, but enough to make me uncomfortable, and said, "I've been waiting." I felt my stomach drop. There was something off about the way he said it. Not impatient, not annoyed, just matter of fact. Like it was obvious. Like I should already understand. I didn't respond. My coworker stepped in and repeated, "Sir, we're closed. You need to leave." He didn't even look at her. His eyes stayed on me the whole time. Then, after a few seconds, he straightened up, turned around, and walked out. No argument, no reaction, just left. We locked the doors immediately. Neither of us said anything for a while. After we finished closing, I walked out to the parking lot with her. And that's when I saw it. He had been standing there again, near my car. We didn't see him arrive. We didn't hear anything. He was just there, in the dark, watching. This time, he didn't walk away right away. He just stood there until we both stopped moving. Then, slowly, he stepped back into the darkness between the cars and disappeared. I didn't go to work the next day, or the day after. I ended up quitting that week. I never saw him again. But even now, every time I leave somewhere late at night, I check my car first. Because the worst part wasn't that he showed up inside the shop. It's that he already knew which car was mine.
I used to drive for Uber Eats on the weekends to make some extra cash. My shift usually started at 8 p.m. and ran well past midnight. It was 12:48 a.m. when a ping came in for a local spot called Tony's Pizza. The offer was solid, $18 including the tip, and the delivery was less than 5 miles away. The address led to an older apartment complex, 3-story buildings, outdoor walkways, and those flickering, dim yellow lights that make everything look like a scene from a horror movie. When I pulled in at 1:10 a.m., the place was dead silent. Most windows were dark. The delivery instructions were simple. Hand it to me. I climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor, apartment 3B. I knocked. No answer. I waited 30 seconds and knocked again. My phone buzzed. A message through the app. Coming down. I stopped knocking and waited. A second later, I heard a door open and heavy footsteps, but not from the unit in front of me. It came from the floor below. I peered over the railing, but the shadows were too thick to see anything. I messaged back. I'm at your door, 3B. The reply was instant. I know, just a minute. That's when the hair on my neck stood up. I was standing inches from the door of 3B, but there was zero sound coming from inside. No TV, no footsteps, no breathing. Just a heavy, hollow silence. Then my phone rang. An in-app call. A man's voice, impossibly calm, whispered,
"You're wearing a black jacket, right?"
I froze. I looked up and down the walkway. Empty. "Yes," I stammered. "Where are you?" There was a 2-second silence. Then he just said,
"Good."
He hung up. Right then, a door at the far end of the hallway creaked open. A man stepped out, but he didn't look at me. He just walked down the stairs toward the parking lot, without a word. My phone buzzed again. Another message. Why are you nervous? I hadn't typed a word. I hadn't moved. How did he know I was shaking? Suddenly, a notification popped up. Customer has updated delivery instructions. I opened it. It now said, "Come downstairs." I didn't move. A second later, the headlights of a car parked in the furthest, darkest corner of the lot flickered on. It was aimed directly at the stairs. One last text arrived. I see you. I didn't care about the tip anymore. I dropped the pizza in front of the door, snapped a quick photo, and bolted. I didn't go back down the main stairs. I ran to the opposite side of the building, jumped down the back staircase, and sprinted to my car. As I scrambled inside and locked the doors, I heard a car door slam somewhere nearby. I didn't wait. I floored it. 10 minutes later, the notification came. Order canceled by customer. The next day, I drove back in broad daylight. Apartment 3B had a bright orange eviction notice taped to the glass, dated 2 weeks prior. The unit was completely gutted, empty. The messages and the call were bad enough, but the way he said, "I see you," still keeps me up at night. Because he wasn't looking through the peephole of 3B. He was watching me from the dark, and I still have no idea which shadow he was hiding in.
I was 16 when I got a job at a local pizza place. After working there for about 6 months, I managed to save up enough to buy a cheap car. I hated not being able to drive myself, but I was excited to start making deliveries instead of working inside the shop all the time. It was a regular weeknight, and I had just gotten in after school around 5 p.m. My shift was until 10:30, and things were pretty quiet. It was busy for the first couple of hours, but by 8 p.m., it abruptly slowed down. There were no deliveries to make, and I was just sitting around waiting. But around 9, an order came through. Just 2 medium pizzas, and it was headed to a house on the outskirts of the city. I grabbed the order and started driving. It wasn't busy out, just a few cars here and there. But after I had been on the road for about 5 minutes, I noticed a car pull onto the road from a side street and start following me. The roads were empty, and they could have easily passed me, but they stayed right behind me. I didn't think much of it at first, to be honest. It was just another car, right? But as the next 5 minutes passed, the car remained right behind me. I made a turn into the neighborhood, and when I glanced in my mirror, I saw their headlights appear, turning onto the road I was driving on. That felt like a strange coincidence. What were the chances that the only other car on the road would be headed to the same small neighborhood as me? I guess it was possible, but it made me more aware of the situation. I kept driving. This road was through the woods, with individual houses spread out on either side. Some were right up against the road, while others had long driveways leading to their homes. As I drove deeper into the neighborhood, I finally saw the mailbox with the right address. I turned into the driveway and checked my mirrors again. A few seconds later, the car passed by and continued down the road. I remember feeling relieved, thinking it was just a coincidence and that I was overthinking things. I drove up to the end of the driveway, which wasn't too long, maybe about 200 feet. I parked, grabbed the pizzas, and walked up to the door. I knocked a couple of times. The porch light was on, but none of the interior lights were. No one answered at first. I knocked again, and about 30 seconds later, a woman opened the door. She looked to be in her early 30s, wearing a nightgown, and appeared tired. She said she hadn't ordered any pizza, and that she had been trying to sleep. She seemed annoyed, but, understandably, was probably just woken up. I apologized and turned around to walk back to my car, but something caught my attention. When I looked up, I froze. The same car that had been following me was now parked right behind my car. The headlights were off, but I could see the fog coming from the exhaust, meaning the engine was still running. I felt an instant rush of unease. Had they been living there with the woman? Or was it something related to the pizza order? Either way, everything felt wrong, too coincidental. I rushed to my car and got in, tossing the pizzas onto the passenger seat. I started the car, but the vehicle behind me didn't move. The driveway was tight, and there wasn't really any space to go around them. So I pulled forward toward the house, hoping they'd see that I was trying to leave. But the car remained right in the middle of the driveway, blocking my exit. We both sat there for about 30 seconds, just staring at each other in silence. Then everything clicked. The car had been following me. The timing was no coincidence, and the car blocking me in wasn't just a mistake. They were setting up a trap. I started to panic, and in that moment I could feel my heart racing in my chest. I didn't know what to do. Then, without warning, 2 men got out of the car. They were wearing black hoodies and hats, their faces mostly hidden. They started walking towards my car quickly. I hit the gas immediately, trying to drive around them and past their car, but there wasn't enough room. The wheels slipped off the driveway, and I skidded in the dirt, ramming into a tree. It wasn't a hard crash, but it was enough to stop me from driving further. I didn't take any chances. I jumped out of the car and started running. I could hear one of them yelling and chasing after me, but after a few moments, their footsteps faded. I ran through the woods, trying to keep my bearings. Once I was far enough away, I quickly pulled out my phone and called 911. The police arrived, but by the time they got to the scene, the car and the men were gone. My car was never recovered. Later, I learned from the police that this was a common scam. These men used random addresses to lure delivery drivers in, hoping to trap them and steal their cars, or worse. The fact that one of them chased me makes me think they didn't intend to let me go. I got lucky that night.
I wasn't even supposed to take that delivery. It was already 1:47 in the morning. We were about to close. The phone rang. Everyone looked at each other. My manager answered it, and then looked at me. It was only 10 minutes away, but I didn't recognize the address, and I'd been delivering around here for over a year. The GPS told me to turn onto a narrow gravel driveway. There was no mailbox, no visible house from the road. Finally, I saw it. An old house. No lights on, not a single one. When I stepped out of the car, I noticed something. The front door was slightly open. I knocked, no answer. I knocked again. That's when I heard it. Breathing. Right behind the door. "Delivery," I said. Then I heard a whisper. "Come in." "I can't enter the house. I need you to come to the door." "Just put it on the table inside," the voice said. That's when I became aware of something else. How far I was from the road. How nobody would hear anything out here. "I'm leaving it on the porch." No response. The breathing stopped. As I stepped back, the door creaked. It opened a little more. I didn't wait. I turned and walked fast. Then I started running. I got in the car, locked the doors, and drove. Halfway down the driveway, I looked in the rearview mirror, and I saw something. It wasn't on the porch. It wasn't at the door. It was standing at the edge of the trees. When I got back to the shop, my manager looked confused. That house was foreclosed last year. No one lives there. My manager asked what took so long. I told him the house felt wrong. He looked at the receipt. Then his expression changed. That property was foreclosed last year. No one lives there. We tried calling the number. It was disconnected. Cash payment. I never went back. And I don't take deliveries after 1:30 anymore. But sometimes, I think about that silhouette.